High school is not the time to set your students adrift with a boatload of assignments to manage on their own. Yes, they should have independent work, but you still play a vital role in their school days. Let's talk about what you can do to set your students up for success with their independent work. Welcome to the Simply Charlotte Mason podcast. I'm Sonia Schaefer. As your students grow into the high school years, more and more of their work will be assigned to be completed independently. That's a natural step in the process of giving them practice in self-education. We've talked in other episodes about the importance of acquiring those tools for self-education and practicing with them. I'll leave a link to that series in case you want a reminder. But the key is that word process. Just as with learning any other skills, it is approached gradually, one step at a time. If you follow the Charlotte Mason approach, that process is built in throughout the grades. In the elementary grades, almost everything is done with the teacher in order to reinforce good habits and to make sure that you're laying a solid foundation. Middle school sees your students begin to take some steps toward independent work, with 1 or 2 written narrations each week, with studying for dictation, and with some assigned written exercises in math. But those assignments receive your attention immediately, as soon as each one is finished. In high school, the next steps in the process are taken. Your students have a list of independent work to accomplish, and you might check in only once, maybe twice, or perhaps not until the end of the school day. For some students, that shift is no problem. For other students, it might require some extra hand-holding. How can you set your students up for success in these final stages of the self-education process? Here are some ideas. First, stay involved during the high school years. It's tempting to hand your students a list of assignments each day and say, "Let me know if you need any help," and then leave them on their own. But that's not the best way, nor is it the Charlotte Mason way. Even at the high school level, you will be involved in their schoolwork. Your role will shift to more of a coaching one, focusing on giving your students guidance and support and wisdom. But even a coach is involved in the day-to-day work. So what does it look like? Well, here are some specifics to help you picture your load of parental involvement in those high school years. In math, you'll still be involved in your students' lessons, introducing new concepts and securing a good comfort level with those concepts before assigning independent work to practice with. In several subjects, such as science, history, Bible study, geography, and government, you will be reading or hearing your students' narrations and discussing the ideas that they took from those readings. You'll also be discussing ideas from their readings in literature and personal development. In foreign language, you will assess their comprehension level with the languages they're learning. Now, that doesn't mean you have to learn the languages with them. You might outsource this subject, but you check in regularly and see how they are progressing along the way. In current events, you will select the news articles to read and engage in discussing them with your students. We have a free download that you can use for this. It offers our favorite news sources for current events and gives a list of discussion questions to choose from. I'll leave a link for you. In their composition lessons, you'll discuss ideas with them and read and assess their written pieces. The Art of Composition series walks you through that process with ease, by the way. Check the description for a link. Now keep in mind, you won't be doing all of that every day. Several of those subjects are done only once a week. And some won't require daily discussions. The main thing is to stay engaged with what your students are learning. Demonstrate what it looks like to be curious and to continue to learn as an adult. There will be so many opportunities for good discussion in the high school years. Treasure them. Encourage your students to express their ideas and then listen carefully and wholeheartedly as they share their thoughts with you. This is a wonderful time to strengthen your relationship and to plant seeds that will bring a harvest in their adult lives. Being a good coach and guide for high school students means you'll need to check in with them regularly. You won't be supervising every assignment as it happens, but you will be supporting your students with your interest and help and accountability. Now, this too will be a process, and how quickly that process goes will depend on each student as a person. It might even vary with different subjects. Some students may need minimal check-ins right from the start. Other students may need more check-ins at first and then transition gradually over time to less frequent check-ins. Some students might be fine with all of their assignments except for science. So tailor your check-ins to your students' needs. And through it all, keep in mind that your goal is to coach them through this process and ever closer to self-direction. Let me give you a couple of practical tips. Especially when you're first starting out, set some definite check-in times and make a note of them in your planner or set reminders on your phone so you don't forget. It's easy to get busy and not realize how much time has passed. So write it down and do what you need to do in order to keep your commitment to your students. Then, when the time comes to check in on your high schoolers' work, first take a moment to make sure that you are approaching each encounter with the right attitude. This is not the time to enter the room like a prison warden, suspicious of what's going on and anticipating resistance. Rather, adjust your heart to enter that room with expectant encouragement. Try to approach your time expecting that your student will be prepared, that they will have done what was assigned. Come at it with an "I know you can do this" attitude. Maybe, "I know it's hard, but I know you can do this." It's a small thing, but your attitude greatly affects the atmosphere of your home, and it can have a profound effect on your students' attitudes toward learning and growing. During the high school years especially, it's so important to keep your hearts turned toward each other. And if your students have let you down, well, actually, they've let themselves down. Don't take that stumble personally. It's not a reflection on how good of a parent or how good of a teacher you are. Rather, use that time as an opportunity to help them learn how to troubleshoot. Calmly, candidly, and respectfully discuss, well, what happened? Why do you think you didn't get this done? What do you think might help you? When appropriate, remind your students of their goals and why they're doing this schoolwork. We talked last time about customizing your students' courses to help them pursue their strengths and interests. Some courses won't be in their wheelhouse, but if it is a required course to get them to their goals, then remind them that this is a step on the path and encourage them to do their best. Just as when you're hiking, it's easier to help your students get back on the right track if you discover any misstep quickly. The longer your students wander off the path, the more time and effort it's going to take to get them back on track. Regular check-ins will help you serve as a faithful guide and keep them headed in the right direction with their schoolwork. Let me encourage you to be firm with your high schoolers about assignment deadlines. Colleges usually welcome homeschooled students with open arms, but if there is one weakness that college professors have noticed in homeschool students, it's that they often think assignment due dates are just suggestions. If your students are going to succeed in college or in the business world, They need to understand the importance of meeting deadlines. So sit down with your high schoolers and let them know that you're going to be more rigid with due dates during these final years together, and make sure they know why. Because college professors and bosses don't renegotiate deadlines based on how tired you are or what's been happening in your social life. In the real world, your students will have to meet deadlines. And if they say they agree to finish something at a specific time, their integrity is on the line. They need to keep their word. So, as a help to get them ready for adult life, you will not be giving extra grace. A deadline is a deadline. And if they don't meet it, there will be consequences. That's how important this practice is. Then you might need to brainstorm some appropriate consequences that you might use, so you can have some on hand if the need arises. For example, if your students don't get an assignment done because they stayed out late the night before, well, the consequence might be that their curfew is moved earlier for 2 weeks, or they have to cut back on outside activities for that term. If they're missing deadlines because they're playing games on their phones, then they have to give up that phone during school hours. You know your students. Consider some areas which might prove to be a stumbling block for each one, and then try to come up with some potential appropriate consequences that address those areas. Here's another tip. Don't forget to consider your high school students' independent work when you are planning your daily school routines. Remember that students in high school will have an hour of family work in addition to their 3 hours of individual work. We discussed that last time. I'll leave a link to that episode in case you missed it. You can set your students up for success by letting them have a say in how that individual work and family work will be scheduled each day. When you're planning your year or your term, sit down with your high schoolers and have an open discussion about what works best for all of you in order to get family work and individual studies done during the day. Maybe one student prefers getting up early to work on individual studies for a while, and then taking a break to gather with the family after breakfast, and then returning to finish individual work. Perhaps your student would rather complete individual work first, right after breakfast, and then join the family for those together subjects at lunchtime. Or maybe it will work best to intersperse family subjects and individual subjects, alternating them throughout the day. The goal is to find a daily routine that will work for all of you, the teacher, the high school students, and the other students. If you're not sure how an idea is going to work out, try it for just a couple of weeks as an experiment. Then sit down and discuss how it went from all perspectives. Each of you might have to compromise a little in order to find a workable routine for everybody, but that too is a good lesson for your students to learn. Show respect for yourself and your students by working together to find the best solution for this season. Then revisit that routine at your next break and see if you need to make any changes. You can set your high school students up for success in their independent work if you share with them the secret of sequencing their assignments the right way. The order in which they do their lessons each day will either help them or hinder them. If you've been around Charlotte Mason circles very long, you probably know this strategy. Arrange your lessons in order to use different parts of the brain as you work through them. The more you use one particular part of the brain, the more tired it becomes. When one part of the brain is fatigued, it makes it extra difficult to pay full attention. So try to alternate a heavier lesson with a lighter one, or a words-based lesson with a numbers-based one, or one that requires a lot of handwriting with one that allows for more talking. Use different parts of the brain in sequence. You have hopefully, been using this technique as you've set up each day's lessons over the years, but your students might not be aware of it. So make sure your high schoolers know this strategy and the reasoning behind it, and then give them practice in using it for themselves. Encourage them to look at one day's list of assignments and arrange those lessons in a sequence that will help them use different parts of their brains. As with any new skill, the more they practice this, the better they're going to get at it. Some students are going to struggle more with keeping track of their school books and supplies than other students. But all of them can grow in the habit of orderliness, a place for everything and everything in its place. Orderliness is going to be another great help to your students in their independent work. Much time can be wasted searching for books or a pencil. The easiest way to set your student up for success in this aspect of working independently is to designate a dedicated work surface and storage place. It might be a desk with drawers. It might be a comfortable chair with a portable writing desk and a basket beside it. You and your students can get creative, but try to work together to identify what environment will help each one to be the most productive, not necessarily the most comfortable. Once you have the environment set up, designate that area only for school work. All school books and supplies stay there. Now, some students might organize that designated area even more, giving assigned places for each book and pencil. Others might not thrive with that much structure, but having a landing zone or a contained space can be helpful to them. They can rest assured that the books and the supplies that they need to complete their independent work will be ready and waiting in that designated space, and they won't have to waste time hunting for them. Set your students up for success in their independent work by staying involved, checking in and setting firm deadlines, working together to come up with helpful daily routines and sequencing for assignments, and setting aside dedicated space to help them grow in the habit of orderliness. If you would like more practical ideas for your Charlotte Mason High School, take a look at this book, Your Questions Answered, High School. It contains advice about courses and credits, family culture, self-education, time management, and much more. I'll leave a link, along with the other resources that I mentioned earlier. Next time, we'll dive into how to handle grades and transcripts in a Charlotte Mason High School. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you then.